Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Clay Township Board at 6:00 p.m. We're in the community room at the John Hensel Government Center. I'm Mary Eckert, Chairman of the Board, and I would like to call the meeting to order and ask for the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first order of business tonight is approval of the minutes from the September 19th regular board meeting. May I have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I'm in the aye category too, Debbie. Accepting. The next order of business are public comments. Is there anyone who'd like to speak tonight? Not hearing anyone, we're going on. A public hearing will now open on the additional appropriation from the fire fund. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on that? I call it at 5 after. I close the public hearing on the additional appropriation of the fire fund at 6 after. Any discussion on that? All right. The action items tonight are the adoption of the 2013 salaries. Doug?
In your file, you should have the 17 form from the State Board of Accounts, and it's got the resolution as far as all the positions we have. And one of the things I'm going to be doing, and I'll address it later also, is my clerk is going to become the deputy trustee, and we'll talk about her salary at that time. But as you can see, I've bumped her up to $47,000, and also because of the increase in activity in our township assistants, the caseworker, Dara Douglas, we're going to move her. She's going to become full-time, and at the present time, she makes $19 an hour. I'm going to increase that to $1 an hour, which is $20 an hour, and I figured it over a year as her going full-time, what she would be paid as a part-time, that she would start at $39,000 starting January as a full-time. I will tell you, I plan on going ahead and moving her into full-time in November. Okay, we're fine with the cash flow and everything. There's not a problem with that. But I just kind of want to inform you that we will be doing that in November. Okay, and I will address more of that later on as we get into the regular budget. But there's no change in my salary. There's no change in the board's salary. And the only other change with my part-time caseworker and assistant clerk is increasing her to $16.25. It was 16, and we're going to increase her to $16.25 an hour. She's part-time, Lucy is. Okay, so that's the all the employees of the township that you have in front of you, and then, like I say, once we get into the regular budget, I'll address more of this.
All right, thanks, Doug. May I have a motion to accept the salaries for the adoption of the salaries for the 2013 salary sheet?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Doug, could I ask you if we're in a wind tunnel right now? It just feels like there is this big... Do you have the air conditioning on? No. It is just blowing over here.
Now, the last time it was light, so you guys notice you're not in the dark anymore.
I know.
And so now it's a wind tunnel. We can go and check. Will you go check about the? We can adjust the temperature from our computers. So
I really meant to tell you to start the budget talk, but I do feel like we're about to blow away. Thank you. Doug, okay. Would you talk about the adoption of the budget, please?
Okay, the 2013 budget adoption, and I've given you guys all the information, but I would, since we have guests here tonight, normally we don't see people out in the crowd, and I think majority of them probably here for the grants. What I would ask of the board is to start off with that, with the, going through the grants, and then we'll go back and do the general fund, well, the other funds that we'll be going over. But I think this is probably more important to most people sitting in the audience. So if you guys would like to go ahead and start with the grants, that's going to be great.
All right. Before we do that, I just want to explain that we have all spent a lot of time on this, which we would intend to do and you would expect us to do. But since the economy has been so bad, it really seemed a special year to really look at it. We had 50,000 extra that was put into the fee. We normally will pay out $200,000. This year it's $250,000. The extra $50,000 came from the sale of the old library building, which is Life and Learning Center, and that Doug put into the to this account, correct, Doug?
Yeah, I added 50,000 from those funds into, I mean, we received 250,000, but 50,000 of that went into the general fund for grants to increase it from 200,000 to $250,000.
Okay, thank you. So anyway, I just want to show you this so you know. This is not easy when you're taking the money and realizing everybody has it, but these are my own particular worksheets. And I actually sat down and made a sheet that detailed from these notebooks all of the information so that we could at a moment's notice look and see why people wanted the money. That's a really important thing. We set the criteria out. It is not for salaries. It isn't, and we had one particular group, which we will talk about each grant as we give it, that had only salaries in there. We're looking for ways that the groups can benefit the community, how many people it's going to access, and exactly what it's going to mean afterwards. So we're going to go from the top of our list and hope that we hit your favorites soon. The first grant is the Historical Society. 2013 request was $20,455, and the amount that we have granted is $15,000. Each of us have come up with our own thoughts on what should happen, and then I sat down and put the figures together, and we came up with the amounts. I would like to invite each of the board members to talk about this, if they would like, as we go on. And so the first order of business would be to talk about the historical grant. Any comments?
Well, I
Paul?
personally was very impressed with the thoroughness, the quality of the application this time. The Historical Society had quite a laundry list of projects and goals for next year, and I felt like that in keeping close to what they were granted last year, and more important, the service that they provide the community and the history of Clay Township, I support the grant of $15,000. Thought it was right in line.
Yeah?
I abstained from discussion on this one.
All right, explain why.
As I said, as I am a member of the Board of Directors of the Historical Society.
Good, thank you. I feel that in reviewing what the Historical Society does, they're really the keeper of our records, and we so appreciate that. But part of it was operating expenses, and that is the one thing we try to stay away from, and we try to keep it involved in the community. I also went and looked at what percentage of people were in Clay Township, and we tried to balance that because several of the groups get money from other places. The next one is Carmel Dads Club. The request was for $30,000, and the amount granted this year is $30,000. Would you like to speak on that, Paul?
I would, and the first thing I'd like to do is just to remind everybody that I am a former board member of the Carmel Dads Club. I am no longer on the board, but I thought it was important that I at least bring that up. Frankly, the Dads Club is one of those community organizations that is unique, serves a very specific purpose. This is obviously a nonprofit organization like most, if not all of these others, and they are directly in the business of helping kids and teaching them sportsmanship and and how to work as a team and providing sports programming throughout the township. And everybody that they serve is in Clay Township.
There's not a child in the township that cannot be a participant of Carmel Dads Club for any reason if they don't want to, and this is an organization that touches anybody's life that wants to be touched, and I'm happy with the $30,000.
I am too, for the reasons that were stated, but they're renovating things like restrooms, because one of the biggest concerns is when children are outside, where are they going to be able to use proper facilities? And so there are construction costs and things that are involved in keeping the Carmel Dads Club going. So $30,000 seemed like that was a fair request. The next one is Carmel Clay Schools, the 4-H program. Paul, would you like to speak to? Oh, I'm going to tell you the amount. They requested $7,500, and we granted $6,000. Conversation?
I just, a quick comment. I think, unfortunately, that the numbers are dwindling, and interest in 4-H is not nearly what it used to be. When I was in high school back in the 70s, it just continues to dwindle. People are going off in different directions. It still serves a great purpose. It's too bad that the numbers and the participants are not what they used to be.
Matt?
And along with Paul's comments, it is sad to see 4-H is a society that, while I was never involved, I admired everybody that was, and hopefully with this money it can help grow, because it's really something where it allows children interested and those that may not have any idea what 4-H is an opportunity to earn something that they work hard for.
We all support it, and this is for a 3-week camp session, and even though it's 100% in Clay Township, there were 30 residents that were going to be involved. So we try to keep that in mind, keeping the flavor of 4-H, but understanding that it's not quite what it used to be. Promising Futures requested $15,750, and we granted $13,000. Paul?
Mary, maybe it would be beneficial to explain what they provide.
Promising Futures provides to 17,000 teens skill training and counseling, and helps them move into further schooling and to make their lives better. They might be at-risk children if they didn't have this opportunity. And so we all felt that was a really beneficial organization, which really goes to the basis of what we're doing when we're giving the grants. If you remember, we at one time provided grants for everyone, and then the city took over a lot of the arts grants, and our job was to continue on with Promising Futures and Prime Life and the basic needs organization. It has expanded a little bit this year, certainly because of the economy, but Promising Futures was at the top of our list. Matt?
I have no further comment.
All right. Hamilton County Alliance, their request was $2,000 and we granted $1,000. You want to speak with that?
I have no comment on that one.
All right. Do you?
No.
All right, we'll let that stand. Leadership Academy, the Hamilton County Leadership Academy had a $7,500 request, and we granted $2,500. Any comment, Paul?
No comment on that one.
Matt? That's fine. In some of these, the participant level is so small that we had to look at how many people were going to be affected by the grant we give out. And when you're talking about 17,000 versus 30, it makes a huge difference in the money that's allocated. Janus, they requested 30,000, and we gave them 30,000. Paul?
Do you want to tell everybody what Janus does again?
Sure. It's a operation of programs to get people who might be mentally challenged or physically disabled back into the community, and they provide transportation. And it allows Clay residents, Clay Township residents, to work there and be able to be transported, and we're helping to provide that through this grant. Any comments, Matt?
I think I've been there and toured the facilities many times, and the products that these individuals, they take these individuals with mental disadvantages, and they find what a niche is they can do, and they have them make a product. And some of the products these individuals make are fantastic. It's a great organization.
The next grant is Meals on Wheels requesting $30,000, and we granted $30,000, and I think everybody knows what Meals on Wheels is. And it's an amazing organization which actually goes out. I've participated in driving meals to people. You're just amazed at the people that need it. Paul,
Yeah,
anything?
my wife, my sister-in-law are both volunteers for this organization, and it's an outstanding group of people trying to help as many as they can, and unfortunately, the numbers keep going up, and this is right in the wheelhouse of what we are trying to do with our grant money, is to help as many people who need the help as possible.
Matt, any comment?
No further.
I will say that it's interesting. One of the days that my husband and I have been driving for Meals on Wheels was actually Thanksgiving Day, where we delivered Thanksgiving meals, but because Meals on Wheels doesn't function Thanksgiving weekend and of the holiday, they also provide the meals that can be reheated. And so there was one particular man that we delivered for several years, and it was quite touching because we recognized him and he recognized us. And about 3 or 4 months ago, I drove by his house and there was an auction, which told me he was either in a nursing home because he was quite old and had a lot of physical problems, or he wasn't there anymore. So, you know, you never know how that's going to touch your life when you're delivering the meals. Prevail. They asked for $30,000 and they received $30,000. And I'm sure that most of you know what Prevail is. It deals with sexually abused children. And we felt that was really an organization that seems, unfortunately, to be growing in need. And we felt they should be granted the full amount. Any discussion, Paul?
No, I couldn't agree more.
Prevail really does a great job. In many crimes, the victims will not speak up, and Prevail does a fantastic job going out of their way to contact individual victims and letting them know it is okay to speak up, and they do a great job at that. Wonderful organization.
The next grant is for Prime Life. They requested 30 and received 30. Prime Life is outreach to the senior community. They do an excellent job with different types of transportation and making sure that many aspects of the senior community receive money. Any comment?
Well, it's just one of the fastest growing demographics in Carmel, and interest and participation and the numbers of people that they serve or are involved in that organization just continues to climb. So this is one of those organizations that I feel we need to support to the fullest.
I feel I'm very blessed that many of my friends are 30, 40 years my senior, and none of them, all of them, I'd say most of them, wouldn't know what to do without Prime Life. It's an excellent organization that makes seniors feel at home. It gives them exercise, low impact. They have a pool, and they wouldn't have anywhere else to go. It's a one-of-a-kind in Carmel. I dare say the county, and something that we need to help keep around.
The next program is CCS Exchange Program, and that has to do with helping the students that want to go to Japan go to Japan. And what they asked us for was $10,000, and we granted $2,500 because we felt the money needed to be used in other ways than to provide just hosting activities for a small group of people. And we hope that they will continue their programs, but they shouldn't be entirely funded through the Township Board. Trinity Free Clinic, the request was $20,000 and we gave $20,000. And they provide so many wonderful free services to those that need it. And I'm sure, Doug, you could probably elaborate on that because you collaborate with them on many services, don't you?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, our old fire station out there at 116th and Town Line, we're working with them. They receive furniture, damaged furniture from John Kirk's and pardon me? Kettles, yeah, I couldn't think of it. And what they do is they relocate it until somebody needs furnishings, washers, dryers, couches, I mean, all kinds of things. And so when the Parks moved out of the old fire station, they moved in and they have it crammed full. but the turnover is incredible of the disease, the need that's out there. So we work that, and if you ever get a chance, you need to go up there to the Matthew 25 Center and go through and just see the job that those people do. And it's the whole community, though. It's not just those people that go to church at Mount Carmel. I mean, it's an entire community that puts a lot of time, and it's amazing. You will hear amazing things from them.
I went up after our last meeting. I'm in a cleaning mode, and so I had drapes and food items and all kinds of things, and took them up there and went in their back room, and it's an amazing setup, and they function on Saturday. I know some of the people in my B&I group will go up and volunteer, and they have the medical clinic and the dental clinic, and it really does serve a large group of people. All right, the sister cities, they requested $2,000, and we gave them $1,000. Same reason, it was a small group of people, and it's for hosting people that are involved in one particular activity, and it was just a small group. Anything that you'd like to say?
No.
Matt? Okay. The Library Foundation. The Library Foundation requested $17,700, and we granted $14,000. It was for the summer reading program, and we think that is absolutely wonderful, and feel that that's what we can afford to do this year for the foundation. Any comments, Paul?
That's an increase from last year where we granted $10,000. But this is one of those organizations that helps or can impact everybody in the community.
Yeah, all right. Jossie's Place requested $7,000, and we gave them $5,000. And I think that Paul's telling you what the 2012 grant is. Jossie wanted $2,000 in 2012, and this year the request went up. So we have to factor in that when we're making the grant. Jossie's Place interviews abused children. They teach body safety programs in the schools, and they work closely, and they impact about 3,500 students a year, but only 37% come out of Clay Township. So we're very careful to remember that we have to keep up with the percentages. Any thoughts? No. Matt? All right, thank you. Carmel Community Players. The grant request was for $5,000, and the request was granted at $5,000. Any comment?
Well, there are a number of acting troupes and repertory groups in Carmel. There is also some overlap with the city of Carmel. This typically falls into the area that they are charged with granting money to, those the arts and the performing arts groups. However, this is an organization that we feel has been overlooked by the city, and they serve an excellent purpose, and we felt like we needed to support them because it doesn't appear that the city is supporting them.
I also wanted to say that they give free tickets to groups of younger people, disadvantaged people, and senior citizens, and that is reflected in the grant amount. Matt, would you like to say anything?
There is so much that goes on, and we've got a few other theater groups here that goes on behind the scenes, cost-wise, that it takes to put on a production that no one thinks about. The royalties, the seating, refreshments, all of that costs a lot of money. And the fact that Carmel Community Players has been able to survive without requesting any money for so many years, and that the city is, one could say, let them down here recently, I felt that it was our duty to kind of toe the line a little bit and keep the fantastic organization running.
The next group was the Actors Theater, and they requested $30,000, and this was the group I was speaking of earlier. It was only for for salaries. And we did not have a plan how it would be used to benefit the community in any other way except to pay back people who founded it, and that we just couldn't do it. So the grant amount on this one was $0. The next one is Civic Theater, and they requested $10,000, and we gave them $10,000. I'd like to explain that. They're called the Booth Tarkington, and they do 3 things with their money. They do the sneak view dress rehearsal, where they will bring in people ahead of time to sit in on the rehearsals. They also, and these people are senior citizens that they bus in. They're disadvantaged, they're mentally challenged, and they're very active in doing that. They have the backstage pass where they're working primarily with students with 100, and then Act One where they train students to go out and put on presentations in the nursing homes, and they do that throughout the year. So that's where their $10,000 grant is going. Paul, any comment?
No.
For the same reasons as Carmel Community Players, the other, Civic does such a great job with children, and there's so much science behind children that excel in theater, excel in math and science, and there's also a lot of science behind how theater affects the minds of the elderly, and it's just a fantastic activity that gets overlooked so many times. I'm happy we're able to do this.
And last but not least is Gleaners, and they requested $5,000 this year. We gave them $5,000. And certainly, they of all people, they eliminate hunger. They have a food bank. They have the back sack, it's hard to say, program where they have children who take a backpack home on weekends so they'll have food in their home. And often the child doesn't get it. It goes to other members of the family. So we felt that was important to give them the grant. The total this year that we gave out was $250,000. We don't have any idea what next year will bring, but normally we grant $200,000. So we thank everyone for their request. We certainly have tried to keep in mind the need in the community, and we hope that you'll keep us posted on how you're using the money.
One comment. I think you made this comment last year, and certainly Doc Dillon made it a couple years ago when he was still on the board. The quality of your application goes a long way to the ability for us to feel good about granting money to any group. There have been instances in the past where we've had some pretty sketchy applications that weren't very thorough, didn't tell us where the money was going, and I think people just took for granted that they were going to get the lion's share of what they requested just by turning in an application. That is not how it operates, and the more information you can share, the more definitive you can tell us where the money is going specifically, the more likely that you're going to be successful to the tune that you've asked about. But there are no promises, and as you could see, there was one very noticeable instance where we did not grant at all to that requestee, but it helps to have a thorough, timely application for us to sift through, just for the future.
Ma'am, any comments?
No comment.
All right. Doug, we'd like to jump in the budget with you.
Okay. One thing, a lot of people ask, where do we go from here? And next month, I will be sending out letters to all the grantees, letting them know where they stand as far as the process, how much the board approved. But it still has to go to the state, the DLGF. The next couple of days, I will be forwarding our budget. In the early January, we will receive a 1782 notice from the state. The state will ask if we have any questions, or they may reduce our budget, and we may have to make some adjustments from that standpoint. We've never had that problem. They've kind of moved some co-op money around that we've had to go back and say, no, we need it in these locations. And they've always worked with us from that standpoint. But then our budget order, we've got to have, they'll get it to us by February the 15th. But we've really never had any trouble with this once the board has approved it. But I just want to say it still goes to the state, and it has to be approved by them. And again, thank you for coming tonight. Okay, get your orange sheets out here. What I've done here is we have basically about 10 funds, in our budget, and a couple of them we don't use, we will never use, and next year we will probably do away with them. But the funds I'm going to be talking